All right, welcome everyone. This is Melissa with Goal Driven Counseling. Here we support individuals who are experiencing challenging life transitions and mental health concerns completely online through secure video conferencing. And we are bringing you the first of a special series where we are bringing you behind the screen. Get it? Behind the screen. We are bringing you behind the screen with the awesome therapists that make up Goal Driven Counseling. We're going to introduce them to you one by one in a cute and a fun way, just so you can get to know us better, because we absolutely know that one of the biggest components of therapy is a great fit, a good relationship, and a therapeutic alliance with your therapist. So what better way to just kind of get to know them better, all right? So today we are here joined with Ellen. Hi, Ellen. This is Ellen Goldwasser. She is a licensed clinical social worker, and me and Ellen go way back. She is one of my great friends. We met years ago doing our clinical supervision together, and we just couldn't get rid of each other. We have been together all throughout our supervision, different jobs, different states now, and I'm just so happy that she joined the Goal Driven Counseling team from the beginning when we expanded to a group practice. So we're going to introduce you to Ellen today and get comfortable, sit back. We want you to just be pulled in to what we're going to share today. So Ellen, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Melissa. Thank you for the warm introduction. I feel like I am in your office already. I was listening to a lecture, just getting comfortable. But thank you so much for the introduction. And I'm so excited to be here. And I'm so excited about this series because I think one of the most special things to me about Goal Driven Counseling is not only our history together, but also being part of a team of other therapists who really are unique in the services that they provide. So as Melissa mentioned, we met in St. Louis. I'm originally from the East Coast, but I was in St. Louis for 5 years where Melissa and I met and got our clinical supervision together. And I'm now currently located in the capital of California. For those of you who don't know, that's Sacramento. And been in California for a little bit over a year. And a little bit about me, just kind of fun information. I absolutely love the arts. Anything art related. I like to pretend that I'm a poet. I love all types of stand-up comedy, painting, visual arts, music. That's a passion that I've always had and something that I always connect with.
An amazing painter too. Amazing.
Exaggerate. But I love the arts, and then on the weekends for fun, you can usually find me working out in the gym for self-care or getting outdoors with my dog, Roxy.
Awesome. Thank you, Ellen. Thank you. So Ellen has the title here as the story shaper. I love, love, love that title. Ellen, tell us a little bit more about yourself as the story shaper.
So I think of all of us as having the power within ourselves to really be the author of our own story. And I think oftentimes we, throughout our life cycle, starting in childhood, starting from things that people tell us, we create a story about ourselves that's through the lens of other people. And I think oftentimes through therapy, you can kind of recognize some of those thought patterns that you've taken throughout your life cycle, and you can reframe that. And so I like to think of myself as a story shaper because I'm really just a support as you restructure and narrate your own story in helping you to achieve that story in the way that you really, really want to. I believe that each of us has the power to be the person that we've always wanted to be. And I just feel very honored to help people to join them in their journey and walk through that with them.
Oh, that is awesome. I recently learned when you agree with something through a Zoom conference, because you can't clap and stuff, like you just have to do this.
You can clap.
You can?
You can. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, oh, look at that. I did not know that. I need to give you some claps.
Yeah.
That is so awesome. And I just think it's so dynamic because we do all have our stories. I think that's one thing that I love about social work is that each and every person, like no one's story is identical. You know, you can have two siblings raised in the same home, same parents, all of that, and they're just two completely different people. And so to have, yeah, to have someone that, and I think just all throughout life too, we get inundated with like what our stories are supposed to be. And we start to compare ourselves to people, and all this imposter syndrome shows up. And just, I think all kind of things kind of convolutes our just authorship to our own story. So I love the visual, and I just feel like it's so dynamic to hear you say like you're the story shaper, because we all at some point in our lives need someone to partner with us to like kind of quiet down all the outside noise and get back to our original place as the author of our own story. So I think that like I have chills running down my arms just thinking about that.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And I also think in hearing you speak about that, I think that oftentimes when we come to therapy, or when we are really in a place where we're ready to work on ourselves and to be self-reflective, we have to pick apart as we set those goals for ourselves, if they're really our goals, or if they're goals that we feel like were put on ourselves by somebody else, somebody in our life, by society. And so I kind of help you walk through that journey when, you know, we first set goals in therapy, starting to kind of piece those apart and figure out, are those your goals? Do those match up with your narrative of who you want to be, or are those goals that are coming from outside sources?
Yes. Oh, y'all hear that? So I know it's plenty of people out there that are like, yes, I think I need a story shaper in my life. Awesome. Ellen, tell us like what motivates you in this work?
hmm So, as a social worker, I have this is a rare experience for me, because I think I knew early on that I wanted to be a social worker, but it is the one job that I've ever had in my life where I look forward to showing up to work every single day, because no day is the same.
Mm,
And I love people. I love hearing people's stories. As the story shaper, I love and feel honored that people trust me enough to allow me to help them to navigate that journey, and support them through that journey.
mhm.
And for me, being able to do the clinical work and work individually with a person really enables me to see those small wins from day to day. And I think oftentimes as the client, when you're working through things, you don't always see the big changes that we see on the other side of the screen, or on the other side of the couch, or whatever it is. And oftentimes I think that being able to empower people to see that they really have all the tools, and they're able to solve their own challenges. But oftentimes when we're immersed in our own struggle, we don't recognize that. And so what I love is being able to show up each day, and every day be different, every day be a different challenge, but walk through people's journeys with them and have them see how much progress they've made each day, and just the small wins, whether it is changing their thought patterns, or just having a day where they don't feel depression and anxiety, and they feel excited about whatever it is that they're facing that day.
Yeah. That's really awesome. And it seems like too, just that passion that you have there, because this can be overwhelming, exhausting work. But it sounds like that passion that you have there and that motivation is what keeps you going as you support so many other people that might be going through just very challenging times.
Absolutely. And I will tell everybody too, and I try my best to practice that for myself. Self-care is so important. So whether you're in the therapy world, whether you're in a service profession, or, however you show up in the world, it's so important to take care of yourself and, set those personal boundaries. And so sometimes that's with the people that we love the most. And sometimes that's with people who we would choose not to be with if we didn't work with them, or whatever that may be. But I think that that's so important to make sure we're checking in with ourselves and making time for ourselves.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you. I want to throw just one more thing in here. So we're in the midst of just COVID-19 pandemic right now with just kind of everything going on nationally and internationally too. And so many providers are now online providing services, which I think is it's throwing people off. I think a little bit. People who are already seeing their therapists that are now transitioning online, they're trying to kind of get used to that, and people that hadn't started or navigated seeking therapy before are now being found with the fact that services are only online, and people are just like, what does that look like, and what does that even mean, right? So I just want to add an additional question here, because since our services have always been virtual, right? I want to just ask, like, what's been a benefit that you've seen with the clients that you work with, or just what's been cool or fun or comfortable? Like, in what ways has the online component been beneficial to the therapy work that you do with clients?
Mhm. Well, you know how excited I had been to open up our drop-in center, that we were going to run for at-risk youth. And so when you came to me with the idea of doing virtual therapy, which at that time was completely novel and unique, I was like, how am I going to work with somebody I've never met before? Like, no. And I realized that in doing the work with different individuals, whether it's them meeting with me virtually on their lunch break, whether it's before they go to work, whether it's, you know, closing the door while their family is in another room and having some private space, it breaks down a lot of barriers that exist for us in being able to access therapy and mental health support in an office setting. And so you don't have to worry about that, the aspect of transportation. You don't have to worry about childcare, depending on how independent your children are, and if you have somebody helping you in the home,
Right.
and you can be comfortable. I'm wearing slippers right now, for example. um, so I think that you do really create the thing that was the most challenging for me was thinking about how I would create that therapeutic rapport with somebody through a computer. And it's what's so unique about this is as you talk to the individual, you realize, you recognize, it's the same as a conversation. You recognize their facial expressions. You can tell if they're thinking something. And it's just I think it mirrors a lot of the same dynamics in a person-to-person conversation, without some of the challenges that are added into having to navigate getting to an office space.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, Ellen. And I want to let you all know just that inside joke that Ellen threw out there. So a few years ago, Ellen and I were supposed to collaborate to start like a community drop-in center. And we were like so excited and all in with that. And probably like some months later, I completely reneged and popped up with this virtual therapy practice idea. And Ellen was like, I don't know about that. And I was like, girl, like, yes, this is what we're doing. So I just think that's so funny. Just thinking back on that, because I think a lot of times, whether it's the client or the clinicians, the providers, like we start off in this space sometimes with a little bit of discomfort because it feels new, it feels unfamiliar, it's outside of what we think of as traditional when we seek services. But I love just all the benefits that you talked about and added, because it does, when we kind of get through all the other stuff, it does end up being the same quality service and relationship that you can have in person with a few, limitations. But overall, those same kind of goals that we have in the relationship that we really are intentional about creating in office definitely translates. And I like to say it permeates through the screen. So the story shaper is going to shape that story with you through a screen just as effectively as they would, or as she would in office. This was awesome, Ellen.
And Melissa, I do just want to add, as you brought up a lot of the issues that have come up around COVID, and I've been so excited to see how well so many organizations and so many therapists have adapted to the times and been able to go virtual. And it makes me really happy that those resources are still available to people, because this is a time where there is so much stress, so much anxiety around the uncertainty around what's happening with people's jobs, health, family, everything.
Mhm.
And I think it's wonderful that there's so many resources that exist and that people are talking about taking care of themselves in this difficult time. But I also, and I don't want to minimize all of that stress and anxiety, but I also want to really emphasize that, in the same way that everybody signs up for gym memberships when January comes around and sets goals, it's so important to continue to stick with that self-care and the taking care of your mental health, because whether you're in crisis or whether you're dealing with the daily struggles that come up throughout your life, I think it's so important to have somebody that you can reach out to and can walk you through those struggles, because there's no issue that is too small that you're dealing with that isn't helpful to talk through with your therapist or with the story shaper.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for adding that. I wholeheartedly agree and have often found myself thinking recently, like all these great things that some of us are able to do now when it comes to our self-care and things, like how much of this are we going to continue once things kind of transition back to whatever a new normal looks like for us. So that's really important. So thank you for sharing that. This has been amazing. I am so excited. So this is kicking off the beginning of the Behind the Screen series with the goal-driven counseling therapist. You can find Ellen's profile. You can comment here. You can send us any kind of questions that you might have for Ellen, but you can find all of our information on our website, which is goaldrivencounseling.com, which will definitely be posted here. And we have a Meet the Team page where you can look at each individual therapist's profile, look at their specialties, and pretty much read a lot of what Ellen shared with us today. We're going to be following up with the same kind of interviews with the rest of our therapists in the practice. And I just hope that this was something that made you feel comfortable and made therapy feel less just mystified. A lot of people ask, especially if it's their first time seeking services, like, what is this like? And what can I expect? And there's always this anxiety of preparing to kind of open up and share all your business with somebody you don't know, right? So that's a huge reason why I wanted to do this, because the people behind the screen and the therapists behind, like, the goal-driven counseling therapists are so awesome. And I want people to see and be able to experience just the personalities and all of the just strengths and skills and backgrounds and everything that I just think, again, is just so important when we're choosing someone to work with, knowing that we can feel comfortable. Yeah. And like they're a good fit too. So thank you for joining us here. Again, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, you can definitely send us a message. And we're looking forward to sharing with you so much more coming up. Thanks, Ellen.